Gotcha.
Hello everyone, and welcome to part 1 of my complete tutorial for Heavy Bowguns in Monster Hunter World. Part 2 of the guide is already out. It's my ammo guide, so you can watch the ammo guide after you're done here. There'll be a link to it in the description and the comment section. What I didn't want to do, I didn't want to combine the ammo guide and the Heavy Bowgun tutorial into one video. It would have been too long, and the problem is the ammo information applies to two weapons, both the Heavy Bowguns and the Light Bowguns. They both use, the same group of ammo, so this is just a better setup. I'll teach you everything there is to know about the Heavy Bowgun, and then I point you to the ammo guide. See what we're doing? Alright, so part 1, part 2. Now, the Heavy Bowguns are known for being one of the strongest weapons in the game. For reference, the most difficult monster that there is was defeated by one player in only 15 minutes using a Heavy Bowgun. This is an incredible record, especially considering most players can't beat the most difficult monster with even a 4-man group. It's really crazy. Heavy Bowguns are also one of the most technical and detailed, dense weapons in the game. There's just tons of information to get through before you really understand what's going on, but I'm going to unpack it all for you quickly and in an easy to understand. I'm going to chunk it apart, right? I'm going to give you like chapters. Think of it like chapters, and we'll start with some important basics, then we'll move on to deeper information, useful knowledge that only experts are going to know. If you end up learning something from this video, please consider leaving a like and a comment so that others can find the video as well, YouTube ranking and all that stuff. Alright, thank you. To get us started, we're going to run up to the smithy and forge the Iron Assault 1. Next, I'm going to send myself straight to the training room by opening my map, zooming out to the world map, and then selecting the training room. This saves you an animation of having to go through your bedroom and all that. The first thing you'll observe is that the Heavy Bowgun does not have an unsheathing attack like most of the blade weapons do. You simply take your gun off your back. This weapon also has a slow sheathing speed that will get you killed if you need to heal or use a dive evade in a very short period of time. So if the monster is swiping at you and you're just about to die, and instead of rolling, you try to put your gun on your back because you want to drink a potion, it's going to take forever to get that gun on your back and you're actually going to get killed because while you're sheathing, you can't roll, you can't evade. Okay, so it has a slow sheath speed and that matters. Now here's a trick. Notice if you're near a cliff, you can roll forward and your jumping attack will cause the Heavy Bowgun to quickly unsheath. It also deals mount damage if you actually hit the monster with the melee attack, and as a bonus, it can also be used to reload your weapon. That's a lot. The reload speed of this jump attack is surprisingly fast for some ammo types, okay? So let me give you an example. Notice this is Cluster Bomb level 1 ammo. I'm going to fire it and then I'm going to try and reload. See how my character just kind of sits there like a lame duck because the Cluster Bomb ammo takes forever to reload? Now watch me reload the same ammo using a jumping attack. Not only did I get to use a melee attack, but as soon as I landed, I did a much faster reload of the cluster bombs. This is not a technique you'll be able to use all of the time to reload your Heavy Bowgun, but it's so useful that we had to start the guide off with it. I really wanted to show you guys several basic ideas about the bowguns, but also give you this tip about using the jump attack as a reload. So now you know how bowguns interact with cliffs. Heavy bowguns are especially good at abusing cliffs because they have a slow but very long range evade, right? We're talking about the roll. Watch how far away I can be from the side of the cliff, and a single roll is going to take me off the side of the cliff and into the jumping reload attack. Heavy bowguns can actually boost the distance of their long-range roll by a lot. In this case, I'm going to put on the Emperor's Crown Beta helmet. It's the best piece of armor for building the Evade Extender skill. I'm going to finish the skill off by adding a jumping jewel to the helmet. Now I have Evade Extender 3. Evade Extender seems to benefit Heavy Bowguns more than other weapons in the game. It takes your already kind of long roll and it turns it into a roll that has so much distance that it's actually easier to move around the fight with your roll plus Evade Extender rather than walking or sheathing and running. This is important to think about because one of the key weaknesses of using Heavy Bowgun is dealing with the slow walking speed. Do you have to have the Evade Extender on the build? Yes, actually, I would recommend this skill to anyone who isn't very skilled at dodging with the Heavy Bowgun, or maybe you haven't augmented all of your armor, or you don't understand defense in the game very well, because Evade Extender allows you to outspace enemy attacks rather than trying to roll through the attacks using your iframes. It's very difficult to actually dodge through an attack in Monster Hunter World. It's much easier to outspace a monster attack. This is why Evade Extender is so valuable to a heavy bowgun for defense. It's also okay if you can only get the Evade Extender skill up to level 1 or level 2. You'll know when you're ready to remove Evade Extender from your build when you can regularly outspace or dodge enemy attacks using only the default evade. This can take a lot of practice, especially depending on what you're fighting. Next, did you know that you can equip a shield on your heavy bowgun? Many of you probably already knew this one. The first time I played heavy bowgun, I had no idea. When I figured out it was really enjoyable to realize I could simply block incoming attacks, like the powerful digging and ramming attacks used by Diablos and Black Diablos. It was around that time that I figured out that heavy bowguns have shields. Let's return to the workshop and equip a shield. Notice that the smithy gives you an option to, quote, customize bowguns. Learning how this feature works is essential for being able to properly use both light and heavy bowguns. In this case, we're only going to put a shield on the build, but we'll have to discuss this topic in greater detail later because it's pretty important. First of all, let's find the heavy bowgun that I'm actually using. You'll notice that you have an option to sort your equipment by, quote, equipped, and this brings up the Iron Assault. Right now, the Iron Assault can only hold one mod, but when you've fully upgraded it, like all the heavy bowguns, you're going to be able to add 3 mods. Next, you can actually see what the mods are in the mod list. We have Recoil Suppressor, Reload Assist, Deviation Suppressor, Close Range Up, Ranged Attack Up, and Shield. For now, let's just take the Shield mod. Note that you can swap out the Shield mod for a different mod whenever you want to, with no cost. It's not a permanent thing, you just customize it however you want. After adding the Shield mod, the appearance of our bowgun has changed. This is a good reminder that helps you know if you have a Shield mod equipped or not, right? Like, you kind of have to know. Now, I'd like to show you how to guard with the heavy bowgun. It's different from the other shield weapons in the game, but it's almost too simple, right? All you have to do to guard with the heavy bowgun is not shoot your gun. The shield mod will automatically block incoming attacks. Now, if you do fire your gun, there's going to be a brief period afterwards where the shield mod isn't active. Like other shields in the game, you'll need the guard up skill added to your build to block some special monster attacks. You'll also have to be careful not to run out of stamina while blocking. And again, remember, if you're not really sure what you're doing, if you're kind of confused, remember, all you have to do to guard, stop shooting your weapon. Easy, right? Let's wrap up this section by saying I think Evade Extender in many ways is much better defense than a shield mod. You might understand this later on in your heavy bowgun career when you understand what you're giving up when you add a shield mod. You can actually equip both though. You can equip the shield mod and Evade Extender, so give them both a try and practice until you can decide what level of defense is comfortable for you. Okay, we've learned a lot about movement with the heavy bowgun as well as defense. Let's do a quick review. 1. Heavy bowguns have a slow sheath speed. 2. While unsheathed, you walk pretty slowly but you have a long distance evade. 3. You can boost the length of the evade to crazy distances with Evade Extender. I recommend doing this whenever you need more defense. 4. Some heavy bowgun ammo types have dangerously slow reload speeds. 5. The jumping attack deals mount damage, it unsheaths to your weapon quickly, and it can even be used to reload your ammo types quickly. 6. Finally, you can add a shield mod to your heavy bowgun that will let you block most incoming attacks, but you give up a mod slot for doing this. That's the end of the first section. Let's go back to the training room and learn about attacking with a heavy bowgun. It's not that complicated, but we'll be laying the groundwork for understanding the most important player skills and techniques that you need in order to be effective with this weapon, right? It's one thing to understand how to use the buttons. It's another thing to really understand what am I supposed to be doing. Like most shooter games, you aim down the sights with the left trigger and you fire with the right trigger. Unsurprising, right? I'll unsheath the Iron Assault and aim at the training pole. Now watch carefully. Notice how my crosshairs change if I get close or far away from the target. If I shoot from far away, I do almost no damage and I'm missing that inner circle in my crosshair. Whereas when I get the extra circle in my crosshair because I'm close enough, my damage gets larger by like 10 times. What I just showed you is called critical distance. Put simply, each type of ammo in the game has a different critical distance mechanic. If you want to use your ammo types well, effectively, you need to know how close or how far away you can be from the target in order to do optimal damage. For example, pierce ammo, you can be really far away. Spread ammo, you got to be really close, so they're very different. The skill Mind's Eye / Ballistics improves your critical range. However, it's a pretty rare decoration, skill in other words, so you probably won't be using this right away. Also, let me mention as a quick aside that the Heavy Bowgun does have a simple melee attack that deals a lot of stun, but it's slow, not really an effective source of damage. Like if you're talking about sustained DPS, it's really not that good. If you want to see me solo an Arch-Tempered monster, Arch-Tempered Teostra with melee only, feel free to do that by clicking up here or checking the comment section for a link. It's a pretty fun video. It's kind of a dry video. I don't talk in it, but yeah, you'll probably find that entertaining. At least watch the ending. Okay, and now that I've said that, let's talk about special ammo types. Heavy Bowguns will have one of two different special ammos. Right, this is a big topic. Either Wyvernheart is going to be on your weapon or Wyvern Snipe is going to be on your weapon. You're going to be able to see that listed with all of the attributes of your weapon. You got attack, you've got affinity, you've got deviation. Well, down near the bottom, you see Wyvernheart or Wyvern Snipe. Neither of these special ammo types are particularly important in the end game, though people tend to characterize the Heavy Bowguns by Wyvernheart and Wyvern Snipe as if they're super powerful. Well, I'm here to tell you that they're just okay. I would say in the early game at least, it is really useful to learn how to use these ammo types because they don't cost anything to use. They simply recharge over time. Also, I want to make sure you know that the two skills affecting your damage output the most with these ammo types are the Special Ammo Boost skill and the Focus skill. Focus helps those special ammo types recharge faster, whereas the Special Ammo Boost skill just is a straight increase in damage. If you get 2 levels of it, you get 20% more damage. Now, before you can use the special ammo types for the Heavy Bowguns, you're going to have to load those special ammo types into your chamber. And while you're doing this, you have to be careful because the animation for loading the special ammo types is kind of slow, just like when you sheath and unsheath your weapon. Also note, once the special ammo has been loaded, you're not allowed to use any of your other ammo types. See, this is kind of one of the things that's different between the Heavy Bowguns and the Light Bowguns. Light Bowguns don't do that. So you're going to be stuck with that special ammo type until you use it, or you can manually remove it, although in my case, it's more like I accidentally remove it and then I pull my hair out because I have to reload it. For Wyvern Snipe, this ammo type has a lot of critical distance, okay? Its name Snipe kind of refers to the way the bullet's going to behave. You shoot it and it pierces through the monster's body even at a long distance, dealing a lot of damage as it goes, all right? So it's going to travel through, go tick, 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 tick for damage. And then seconds later, maybe not seconds later, moments later, there's going to be a follow-up explosion everywhere that the bullet pierced. So all that tick, 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 all that procs of damage that you got through the monster's body, you're going to have explosions right afterwards. So to get the most out of this special ammo type, take your time aiming it and make sure you've lined up a target before you shoot, right? You want to get the best angle on the monster, whatever the chunkiest part of the monster's body is. Line that up, so that you can get it to proc multiple times. Ideally, you would shoot it into the monster's head, and it would come out the tip of its tail, right? Because typically that's the longest distance in a monster's body. Another thing about Wyvern Snipe that even some experienced players probably don't realize is that it actually deals a little bit of stun damage. And if you get really good, at shooting the monster and getting most of its head, you can actually cause the monster to get KO'd in one shot. I've done this, even against good monsters. Well, it could be the case that I was getting help from like a hammer player or maybe a hunting horn, but I know I've knocked monsters over with one shot of Wyvern Snipe. It's very interesting. I should probably mention that Wyvern Snipe seems to be affected by affinity, but only for the portion of the attack where the bullet is initially traveling through the monster's body, not the explosion. So I don't think I would worry about affinity on your Wyvern Snipe builds. I can also tell you that the Griffin Blazuka has the strongest Wyvern Snipe in the game, and that the Thegameconomist is another great bowgun with Wyvern Snipe. Moving on to the second special ammo type, Wyvernheart. For Wyvernheart, you really do want to build for affinity and critical boost, because both of those skills, along with this special ammo boost, are going to strongly affect your damage output. I rarely use Wyvernheart as a serious endgame build, and that's mostly because of the way it works, the mechanics. In order to get the most damage out of Wyvernheart, you have to pick one part of the monster's body and focus all of your shots into that one part of the monster's body. This isn't horribly difficult to do until you start to fight endgame monsters where they move around a whole bunch. You can't paralyze them easily, you can't trap them easily, right? Especially the traps, I would say. Like, you got tier 1 monsters, tier 2 monster. A tier 2 monster would be like Diablos, Black Diablos. I'll show you an example on screen. You can trap them and you can shoot them with Wyvernheart and just get tons of damage. Well, when you reach tier 3 and you're fighting the Elder Dragons, that's not possible anymore. You rely on them being exhausted or just standing still for a while. I mean, if you could have someone paralyze the monster while you're using Wyvernheart, that would be an ideal situation. But a lot of the time, the monster will be moving around so much that you really won't get the chance to land most of your shots on just one body part. Though again, let me just mention that if you are fighting tier 1 or tier 2 for the monsters, simply get them in a trap, and then you want to load your Wyvernheart up first, and then after they're caught in the trap, drop your whole clip on them while they're restrained. The strongest heavy bowgun in the game to use Wyvernheart is the Tereth Assault Horn. Is basically a clone of the Griffin Blazuka. Since I don't use Wyvernheart all that often, I'm not sure what the second best Wyvernheart heavy bowgun is, though it's probably the Dark Devourer. Okay, quick review. So now you're aware of different ammo types having different critical distance. The Mind's Eye ballistic skill will improve your critical distance, but it's not required for endgame builds, it's just a nice thing. You also know bowguns have a kind of low damage, mediocre melee attack that does deal a lot of stun, and you've basically been given a full guide on the special ammo types for the heavy bowguns. You're making great progress on part 1 of the heavy bowgun guide. You're almost ready to go over to the ammo guide, but before we do that, there's still 2 really important things to learn about using a heavy bowgun. Number 1, how do custom bowgun mods work? And number 2, how to micromanage your ammo reserves. Starting with bowgun mods, let's go ahead and return to the workshop, and then once again, we'll talk to the smithy and select Customize Bowgun. This time we need to take a look at all of the mods and really understand what's going on. So I've gone ahead and chosen a weapon that's built to its final rarity. In this case, we have the Power Shooter from the Bone Tree. You'll notice that now we have 3 slots for building custom mods. That's going to be the standard for all bowguns that you finish building. Your goal with the mod slots is to increase the damage output of your gun, although we have a special case on the heavy bowguns where you also might give up a mod slot in order to build a shield, right? That's what we did earlier, and you might do this when you play a tank versus the Behemoth. But I know what some of you guys in the comment section are going to ask. You're going to say, oh, Gameconomist, what if I want to add 3 shield mods to my gun? Don't do this. I've tested it endlessly. You get no benefit for having 3 shield mods. I think the shield mods, when you add more of them, it's like they kind of work as a substitute for the guard skill. I could be wrong about that, but other than that, there's no benefit to adding three shields. So add 1 and use your other mod slots to increase your damage output. So your next question should be, how do the bowgun mods increase my damage output? Well, Recoil Suppressor could secretly be renamed the Rate of Fire Boost, because that's what it actually does. When you lower the recoil on your weapon, you increase the rate of fire. So when you go to mod your bowgun, you're going to have to check and see if you can easily reduce a lot of recoil. Notice, as I place recoil suppressor mods onto my build, you can see the recoil ratings of my ammo types moving over to low. It's the same idea for all of the mod types. You place a mod on your gun, and that attribute improves. I also wanted to mention another important attribute of the recoil is that in Monster Hunter World, the less recoil you have, it's not only the case that your gun's going to be shooting faster, but you also have shorter recovery frames while you're firing, which means having low recoil is safer too because you get to roll earlier. So let's look at another bowgun, one I'm really familiar with. How about this one, the Kiara Blitz Thunder. This is a Thunder ammo light bowgun, meaning my whole build, my whole setup, is going to be focused just on increasing the damage output of the Thunder ammo. Notice that we can bring the recoil of that ammo type down to average, but it's going to cost us 3 recoil mods. Moving from high to average is a big deal for your rate of fire, so that's what you're supposed to mod for. You can check the reload assist mod for this bowgun, but your reload speed is already normal, which is good enough. It would be less efficient to bring your reload down to fast and therefore skip going recoil because you'd lose damage doing that. This is all based around understanding how important is recoil in calculating DPS versus how important is reload speed in calculating DPS. You've got to compare them. So somebody had to sit down and see what's giving you more damage over time. Is it a fast reload speed or is it shooting your gun faster? And as it turned out, average recoil was more important than fast reload. There are other cases where reload assist is more important than the recoil. It's typically when you're moving from very slow reload speeds to slow reload speeds, right? That's an improvement. After that, we have a mod no one uses and no one should use called the deviation suppressor. Low deviation makes your bullets fire in a line like a laser beam. High deviation makes your bullets more likely to scatter around. Fixing your deviation hardly improves your damage output at all, especially if you just practice aiming your weapon, so no one ever recommends this mod, no one. Finally, we have the close range and ranged attack up mods. These are pretty straightforward. They each give you a 10% attack boost to certain ammo types. Each consecutive close range and a ranged attack up mod is only going to give you a 5% attack boost. If I'm wrong about that, please correct me in the comments section. I know that there are no bowgun builds where you actually take 3 of these mods together. It's not efficient, so I'm assuming it goes 10-5-5. Might go 10-5 2.5. Again, I'm not 100% sure. I never test it because I never have to, because it's always something like recoil suppress, close range. You see what I'm saying? So I never have to test 3. I only ever test 2. Alright, so close range mods only work on ammo types when you get close to the target. Ranged attack up mods only work when you get far away from the target. Unfortunately, the ranged attack up mod does not pair with elemental ammo types, probably because they're busy dealing elemental damage. So you really only use it for pierce ammo, and that's about it. For close range, you pair it with Wyvernheart, normal ammo, spread ammo, and Wyvern ammo. So now you see why mods are so important, because when you're analyzing the ammo types of 2 different bowguns, you also have to see what the final damage is going to be after you add in the optimal mods, right? You might have 2 bowguns. Let's say they have the same attack. Let's say they hold the same amount of ammo, but they interact with the bowgun mods differently. Well, if that's true, then one's going to be stronger than the other. That's just how it's going to be. So you have to understand a lot of things about the bowguns in order to pick out the ones that are going to be optimal. That wraps up talking about how to customize your bowgun, which means all we have left is micromanaging ammo. If you're like me, you're probably feeling a little bit of information overload at this point, so I'm not going to overcomplicate this section of the guide. Basically, for bowguns, 90% of the time, you're not going to have enough ammo to finish your monster, right, to kill him off. The solution to this is to bring all of the materials you need in order to craft new ammo as you go, and then to rapidly craft that ammo using the radio menu. Okay, that's the whole shebang. To make sense of all this, I'm going to actually set up an item menu and a radio menu for crafting new ammo. Let's pretend we're getting ready to use the Griffin Bazooka, and we're going to use sticky ammo level 1 and the Wyvern ammo. Well, we'll also bring some normal ammo 3 in case we run out of, let's say, sticky, and we're not going to worry about having to craft more normal ammo 3, we already hold a lot of it, and we're going to bring the paralysis ammo level 1. That means we're also going to need all of the ingredients to craft more Wyvern ammo, because I'm definitely going to run out of that. That's my primary damage dealer. So I bring the Wyvern ammo, and I bring 5 Dragon Strike nuts, right? For the sticky ammo 1, I'm going to be bringing blast nuts. Then in my radio menu, I can add crafting for each of those ammo types, right? You have to scroll over to the part where it shows you your crafting options, and you're just going to add that to your radio menu. After editing the radio menu to be the way that you prefer, I have to then go back to the item menu and save, or else all of the changes that I made to the radio menu are going to be lost. So this is what happens if you don't save your radio menu in your item loadout. Next time you go and select an item loadout, it's going to forget what changes you made to your radio menu. It's going to be overwritten with the radio menu settings for this other item loadout. See what I'm saying? So you got to save it. Now here I am in the field actually fighting a monster, and what happens is when it feels like I have an opening to craft ammo, I can quickly use the radio menu to restock my sticky ammo and my Wyvern ammo. If I were to also run out of crafting materials, at that point I would probably use a Farcaster to get back to camp and refill those using the item loadout that I created beforehand. You'd climb into the camp, and then you'd scroll over to your item loadout and you'd click on it. Let me teach you one last advanced tip before we wrap things up. So there's this technique that really skilled bowgun users use where you select your item loadout. That refreshes all of your items. Then you go over to change your equipment and you swap to a different bowgun, and then back to your original bowgun. This is an advanced technique. What it's basically done is it's reloaded your bowgun entirely. So whenever you go to pick up new ammo, you always do this. You grab your item loadout, then you go over to change equipment, pick a different bowgun, and go back to your original bowgun. It reloads all of your ammo. And that's everything you need to know about ammo management for the heavy bowguns. In this last section, I taught you about customizing your bowgun. Always try to bring your recoil down. If you have very bad reload speeds, try to bring it down to a manageable reload speed. And then if you have open slots, bring close range mod or ranged attack up mods, assuming your ammo type interacts with those mods. I also taught you how to craft ammo on the fly like a super skilled player, and I taught you the advanced trick where you reload your bowgun after climbing into the tent to grab more items, okay? That's the end of my Heavy Bowgun Guide Part 1. If you want Part 2 and you haven't seen it already, once again remember, it is my brief explanation for every ammo type. Remember, there's a link in the comment section, there's a link in the description, or you can click on the link up at the top of the video, okay? Once again, I want to thank you all for watching. If this video did help you, consider sharing it, liking it, or leaving a comment. I'll see you guys next time.